What would you think if you were told you can be very good or absolutely useless? That was what my mother said to me when I asked her about transitioning from swimming to rowing during my time in Paralympic sport. Like many others, I was seeking approval before making a decision, worrying about the outcome before it even had a chance to materialize. What I like to call nowadays as procrastination or perfectionism, or in other words, or in simple terms, sitting on the fence. So you see, external motivation is driven by results, the outcome, and materialism that is programmed and conditioned somewhat by society and social media. But on the other hand, what if I told you that internal motivation is driven by our own inner belief? When people trust in their own intuition and gut and know where they are, then they can truly help others. But for 97% of the population, this way of thinking just won't work for them as they focus on the wrong thing. This focus isn't channeled in the right place. It is in a place of greed. We get fixated on what we can get out of it and a win at all cost. I know all too well because I spent a large portion of my life in that place of external motivation of proving people wrong, be it family, school, you name it. I faced it growing up with a disability. But if we look at it from only this perspective, we put a limit on ourselves. Well, what if it didn't have to be so? Because as I see it, and this is where we get it wrong with motivation, it can only be black and white. We only see it as black and white because we focus on our own perception of motivation, what has and hasn't worked for us in the past. But what if we looked at things much like a camera does, in shades of grey? But then again, you might ask, James, isn't sport built on the essence of motivation? Yes, in one sense, you would be right. However, this is where I believe the general public forget why an athlete would put their body on the line day in and day out. And there's that unwavering passion and single mindedness to their sport. In other words, internal motivation. It is built into their core, into their DNA, that hunger, that drive, and that love for what they do. So how does my second story relate to what I've just been talking about? I was a young swimmer, all about beating people. We only look at the negatives of motivation as opposed to what in reality is competition and comparison. Competition has been demonized for so long that it has almost become non-existent, and we have blurred the lines between what is competition and what is comparison. You see this has come about after years and years of giving out trophies and certificates just for turning up. And when a sniff of competition comes up, these individuals fold. Now I come back to the first story I started with. You can be very, very good or absolutely useless. I only heard this as a positive because I had the belief in my own ability and that sense of curiosity in what was to come. That sense of doubt that everyone feels from time to time never crept into my mind. Because at that particular point in my career, my focus wasn't yet on the result, which sport is very much built upon. So, in closing, if you had anything to take away from this talk today, remember this: trust in your gut, and most of all, trust in yourself.